When I got to the station, the train left. Picture that for a second. You walk onto the platform and the train pulls away right in front of you. Now listen to this one. When I got to the station, the train had left. This means that you never saw the train. It was already gone before you walked in. One tiny word changed the whole story. That word is had. In the next few minutes, you're going to know exactly what had is doing there when you need it, and just as important, when you should leave it out. Let's go. Here is the whole idea in one line. The past perfect is the past before the past. You have two moments and both of them are finished. Both of them are in the past. The past perfect is how you point at the earlier one. Think about your train story again. Moment 1, the train leaves. Moment 2, you arrive. You want to talk about moment 2 first because that is your story, but you still need to tell me about moment 1. So you say, the train had left. That is it. Let me give you the form because this is the easiest form in the whole English language. Had plus the past participle. The past participle is the third form of the verb. Go, went, gone. Eat, ate, eaten. See, saw, seen. It is that third one. So I had gone. She had eaten. They had seen. If you want to understand the past participle in detail, we have made a separate video on it. The link is in the description and at the end of this video. Okay, now here is the good news. Did you notice that had never changed? I had. You had. He had. She had. We had. They had. We use had every single time. One word for everybody. Let me give you a few sentences. Don't study them yet. Just listen and see if you can feel what is happening. The room was empty. Everyone had gone home. I was so hungry. I had not eaten all day. She failed the test because she had not studied. By the time the film started, we had finished all the popcorn. Do you hear the shape? In every one of those, there is a moment in the past, and then there is something that happened even earlier. The room was empty. That is your moment. Everyone going home happened before it. I was hungry. That is your moment. Not eating happened before it. The past perfect is always the earlier one, always the step before the step. Now let me answer the question you might be thinking. Why do we even need this? Why not just say everything in order? You can, and most of the time, that is exactly what English does. I woke up, I made coffee, I went to work. Simple past 3 times in order. Perfect. But real stories are not always in order. Sometimes you start in the middle and then you go back to explain something. I walked into my flat and I knew immediately. Someone had been inside. I started with the flat and then I jumped backwards. The past perfect is the signal that says, careful, we are going back in time now. That is what it buys you. Freedom to tell a story out of order without confusing anybody. Some words almost always bring the past perfect with them. When you hear these, your ear should expect a had. By the time we arrived, the shop had closed. Already, when I called her, she had already left. Just. He had just sat down when the phone rang. Never and ever. Before that trip, I had never seen the sea. yet. They wanted to eat, but the food had not arrived yet. Notice where those little words sit. Already, just, never. They go between had and the main verb. She had already left, not she already had left. Negatives are easy. Put not after had. I had not finished. She had not called. They had not arrived. And in normal speech, you squeeze it. Hadn't. I hadn't finished. She hadn't called. That is what you will actually hear people say. For questions, move had to the front. Had you met him before the party? Had she already left when you got there? Had they finished by 6? And the short answers: yes, I had. No, I hadn't. Here is something that trips up a lot of learners when they listen to native speakers. We shorten had to just a D sound. I'd finished, she'd left, they'd gone. But that same D sound is also short for would. I'd like a coffee. That is would, not had. So how do you tell them apart? Look at the verb right after. I'd finished. Finished is a past participle, so that D is had. I'd finish. Finish is the base verb, so that D is would. One is a story about the past. One is a plan or a possibility. The word after the D tells you which. This is one of the most useful things the past perfect does, and a lot of courses skip it. Very often you use it to explain a past situation. Something was true and the past perfect tells us the reason. I couldn't get into my house because I had lost my keys. She was crying because her cat had died. He was nervous because he had never spoken in public before. In each one, the first part is the situation, and the past perfect is the backstory that explains it. If you can use it for this, you sound genuinely fluent. One more pattern and it comes up constantly in conversation. When you talk about a past experience being the best or the worst or the first, you use the past perfect with ever. It was the best meal I had ever eaten. That was the worst film I had ever seen. It was the first time I had ever flown alone. Why past perfect? Because you are comparing that moment to everything before it. All those other meals came earlier. So the past before the past. Now this part matters just as much because the most common mistake with the past perfect is not forgetting it. It is using it everywhere. Rule 1. If you are just telling events in order, use simple past. I got up, I had breakfast, I left the house. Don't touch it. That sentence is perfect. Rule 2. If a word like before or after has already made the order clear, you usually don't need the past perfect. After I finished work, I went home. The word after already tells me which came first. You can say had finished, and it is not wrong, but you don't need it. Rule 3, and this is the big one. The past perfect cannot live alone. If I walk up to you and say I had eaten, you will wait. You will feel that something is missing, because I have not told you the second moment before what? I had eaten before they arrived. Now it works. The past perfect always needs another past moment to lean on. If there isn't one, you probably want simple past. Okay, that was the heavy part and you got through it. Let me put the whole thing back in one sentence and then we will practice. 2 past moments. The past perfect is the earlier one. Form is had plus past participle, and had never changes. That is genuinely all of it. Time to test it. I will read a sentence with a missing piece. You say the answer out loud. I will give you time to think and pause the video if you need more. Ready, let's go. By the time the police arrived, the thief dash had escaped. The escape happened before the police got there. Earlier moment, past perfect. I couldn't get into my flat because I dashed my keys. Had lost. Losing the keys is the reason, and it happened before the locked door. She dash never snow before she moved to Canada. Had never seen. And notice where never sits, between had and seen. The film dash already when we sat down had already started. The film started first, then you sat down. You missed the beginning. It was the most beautiful place I dash ever had ever visited. Comparing that moment to every trip before it. Now a question form, dash, you, dash, him before the party. Had you met? Had jumps to the front and the main verb stays as a participle. Last one, and this one is a trap. Be careful. Yesterday I dash a new phone bought. Simple past. There is only one past moment here. There is nothing earlier to point at. No second moment, no past perfect. How did you do? If the last one caught you, that is a good sign. It means you have learned the tense. Now you just need to learn its limits. Before we finish, 3 places where the past perfect turns up that you do not need to master today, but you should recognize. When you report what someone said, present tense often moves back into the past perfect. He said he had finished. When you talk about regret, I wish I had studied harder. And when you imagine a different past, if I had known, I would have called you. All 3 are the same idea underneath, the past before the past. Each one deserves its own video, so tell us in the comments which one you want first. Let's put it all together. The past perfect is the past before the past. The form is had plus past participle, and had is the same for everybody. Negative, hadn't. Question, had goes first. Look out for by the time already, just, never, and yet. Use it to explain why something was true in the past, and it needs a second past moment. On its own, it is not finished. Here is your challenge. Write 1 sentence in the comments about something that had already happened before you started watching this video. I would love to read them. Thank you so much for watching. If you are struggling with any topic in English, tell us in the comments and we will make a video on it. If this helped, like the video and subscribe for more. And share it with a friend who is learning English. See you in the next lesson.